Welcome, dear listener. You've arrived at the soft edge of the day, where the noise begins to fade and your thoughts begin to slow. Tonight, we journey not outward, but inward, into questions that stretch across galaxies and nest quietly in your chest. This is a space where science becomes a lullaby, where deep truths are whispered gently and curiosity wraps around you like a blanket. So settle in. Let your body rest. Let your breath find its rhythm, and let your mind drift gently into the wonders waiting beneath the surface of reality. You're safe here, you're not alone, and the questions we ask together, they are a kind of light. Welcome to your bedtime story. Let's begin. It begins with a quiet moment, one you might not even notice at first. You're standing beneath a tree, and the wind moves the branches gently. The light shifts on the ground, dappling through leaves, and for a moment it seems like the shadows form a pattern, not just random specks of light and dark, but something rhythmic, almost mathematical in its repetition. You blink, and the feeling passes. But a question remains. What if there is something deeper beneath the surface of what you see? A hidden architecture of reality, whispering softly beneath the noise. Your days unfold with routine, but sometimes, in the spaces between moments, something nudges you. You notice how snowflakes always fall in six-fold symmetry, how pine cones spiral like galaxies, how your breath finds a pattern when you're quiet enough to listen. You are not imagining it. Nature seems to favor order, balance, and elegant repetition. Physicists call this symmetry. It is not just aesthetic, it is a foundational principle of the universe. Symmetry shows up in the laws that govern motion, in the structure of molecules, and even in the behavior of particles smaller than atoms. But the most curious thing is this. When something in nature is symmetrical, it usually means there's a conservation law behind it, that something is being preserved. Like energy, momentum, or charge. It's as if the universe has rules, and those rules are written in a kind of code, a language we're only beginning to decipher. You are made of that same code. The carbon in your skin, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all born in stars. Each atom a tiny symbol in the larger syntax of reality. You're not separate from the cosmos, you're its continuation, its unfolding sentence, and that sentence seems to be written in mathematics. Not the cold, dry math of schoolroom tests, but a living, breathing geometry. Spirals in seashells, branches in trees, the fractal lace of frost on a winter window. Each shape echoes another, like verses repeating in a poem. There's a strange kind of peace in knowing that beneath the surface chaos of life a quieter order exists, patterns that do not demand attention, but reward it. Even the very laws of motion, Newton's laws, Einstein's equations, are balanced equations. They do not change randomly. They are stable, predictable, patient. And then there's quantum mechanics, a whisper from the fabric of the universe that says, not everything is knowable, but everything follows rules. Strange ones. Rules that suggest particles can exist in more than one place at once, or influence one another across vast distances. Entangled, like threads in a tapestry. You begin to see the world differently now, not just as a collection of things, but as a conversation between energies. Every flower, every feather, every tide and heartbeat is part of a dialogue. And at the heart of it, information. Not just in a computer sense, but in a cosmic one. The universe, it seems, is not just made of matter and energy. It is also made of information. It evolves by processing it. It remembers. It calculates. It learns. This is not science fiction. This is science softened into story. It is the realization that what you call reality might be a manifestation of deep, coded logic, not robotic, not sterile, but beautiful. A code that breathes. Some scientists even entertain the idea that the universe could be a kind of simulation, not in the sense of being fake, but in the sense of being generated. Like a dream that dreams itself, governed by mathematical rules, evolving with elegance and purpose. You don't need to believe it to feel the wonder in the idea. You just need to listen to the world a little more closely. There's music in it. Not the kind you hear with ears, but the kind you sense when your heart is quiet. The flutter of order in a flock of birds, the rhythm of waves on the shore, the pulse of your own blood echoing some deeper algorithm. You walk now with slower steps. The sidewalk becomes sacred. A fallen leaf feels like a message. The hum of a refrigerator, the chirp of a cricket, the ticking of a clock, each becomes a note in a larger song. You're not separate from it. You're part of the melody. And so, as the night folds gently around you, you wonder, what if this isn't randomness? What if your very thoughts are part of the equation? What if awareness itself is a function of the universe trying to know itself? That thought lingers, not with fear, but with awe. Awe that you are here at all. Awe that things fit together so beautifully. Awe that the universe not only exists but makes sense. As you close your eyes, let that feeling stay with you. The world is not just a place you pass through. It's a pattern you belong to. And as we drift into the next chapter, we'll follow this thread further, from code to consciousness, from form to feeling. Because if the world is written in symbols, then maybe your thoughts are part of the language too. You wake with the whisper of that last thought still wrapped around your mind. The idea that your thoughts might be a part of the universe's own language. It lingers like the soft trace of a dream, and as your eyes slowly adjust to the early light, you begin to notice the details again, the tiny things. The smoothness of the world, once so seamless, now glimmers with the faint suggestion of edges. The grain of wood on your bedside table, the shimmer of dust caught in a sunbeam, the silence between each heartbeat. They don't seem quite so continuous anymore. Zoom in just a little. Imagine leaning closer to a photograph, one that seemed so perfect from a distance. As you press your nose to the image, you begin to see it for what it really is. Not a flowing scene, but a grid of tiny squares, each a single colour, each contributing just a fragment to the whole. Pixels. The illusion of smoothness only holds until you look closely enough. You wonder, could reality be like this too? Could the universe, which seems so fluid, so endlessly connected, actually be made of discrete parts, like a mosaic arranged with infinite care? What if space itself is pixelated? What if time does not flow but ticks, not like a clock but like frames in a movie? What if the fabric of everything is woven from digital thread? Physicists have long sought the smallest possible unit of reality, not just the atom, once thought to be indivisible, but something deeper still. Quantum field theory tells us that particles are excitations in invisible fields, flickers in the energy beneath all things, and some believe there is a scale so small, so unimaginably fine, that it represents the true resolution of the universe, the Planck length. It is the smallest measurement of length that makes sense, a limit to how finely reality can be divided. Smaller than atoms, smaller than quarks, smaller even than the waves that dance between them. At that level, space might not be smooth at all. It might be grainy, foamy, jittering with uncertainty. You cannot point to a definite location. You cannot say exactly when something happens. You can only speak in maybes, in probabilities. The more you try to pin something down, the more it slips away. And isn't that just like a dream? Try to grasp it, and it dissolves. But float with it, accept its fluidity, and you begin to glimpse its shape. You lie still and imagine it, that perhaps beneath the surface there is a grid, not a rigid one, not squares and lines, but something softer, like the structure of a song or the rhythm of your breathing, patterns of existence. Each note playing out just in time, nothing wasted, nothing extra, just the necessary data to render what you see, feel, and know. Could the universe be like a simulation, not the cold, machine-like illusion often portrayed in stories, but something more poetic, a conscious rendering, a world that refreshes itself not all at once, but moment by moment, layer by layer, depending on where your attention rests. Look closer and the details load in. Look away and they gently fade. Not because they aren't real, but because attention itself might be a part of how reality forms. Quantum mechanics suggests something curious, that particles don't settle into a specific state until they're observed. This isn't magic, it's measurement. A photon, for example, travels as a wave, exploring all possibilities. But the instant you check, you find it in one place, and only one. As though the universe waits for your eyes to decide which version of reality to bring into focus. It raises a quiet question. Are you not only seeing the world, but also helping to shape it? Is consciousness woven into the architecture of the cosmos? You aren't just a passenger in this world. You might be a collaborator, and this collaboration feels intimate. Consider how light travels, not continuously, but in tiny packets called quanta, like digital files, like messages, each one a pulse of energy, a unit of communication from the universe to your senses. Touch is not a blur, but a series of events. Sound is not a wave, but a cascade of air molecules striking your eardrum in rhythm. Even colour is not a property of objects, but a sensation born from the way your eyes translate different wavelengths of light. So perhaps your perception is the interface, the screen upon which the universe renders its art, and it renders it only where you are, only when you're present, only when you care to notice. There is a comfort in this idea, that you're not lost in a vast, indifferent cosmos, that the world around you is not fixed and frozen, but alive with possibility, awaiting your arrival, awaiting your focus. The stars in the sky, for example, may seem permanent, but they too flicker in frames of time. Light takes years, centuries, to reach you. The starlight you see tonight may have begun its journey long before you were born, yet here it is. In your eyes, you're present. And maybe this is not a coincidence. Maybe the timing matters. Physicist John Archibald Wheeler once proposed a wild idea, that the universe is fundamentally made not of stuff, but of information. He called it from bit. That every particle, every field, every interaction can be described by yes or no choices. Binary code at the heart of existence. Not ones and zeros typed on a keyboard, but choices encoded in the way energy moves, in how fields shift, in whether a particle turns left or right. You think of language, how a sentence is made not just from letters, but from the spaces between them, from punctuation, from pauses, that the silence is as meaningful as the sound, that gaps hold structure. And perhaps reality is the same, shaped as much by what isn't as by what is. Zooming out, you start to sense how this graininess isn't a flaw. It's part of the beauty. It makes the picture possible. Just as a painting requires brush strokes, just as a song needs notes, just as your life needs moments, moments where you pause, moments where you feel, moments where you begin to wonder. Is this too part of the rendering? You think of time, how it flows for you in seconds and minutes. But for particles, time does strange things. In Einstein's theory of relativity, time bends, stretches, slows down when you move fast or sit close to something massive. And in quantum theory, time blurs. It doesn't always move in a straight line. Some interpretations suggest that time might even emerge from something more fundamental, a deeper process still hidden beneath the surface. Could it be that time, too, is part of the simulation? That it ticks only when something changes? That it begins again each time you notice? That sleep and waking, like night and day, are not only cycles but renderings, versions of reality loaded for your experience? You let this idea drift across your thoughts like a cloud. You don't have to believe it, just consider it. That perhaps reality is not continuous, but finely drawn. That the smooth river of life is, in truth, a series of still frames, stitched together by memory, by attention, by choice. And here you are, in this frame, this breath, this beat. You belong here, not as an accident, but as a part of the pattern, like a pixel in a vast image, like a note in an eternal song, like a moment, rendered only once, never repeated, fully yours. The thought settles around you softly like a blanket. You don't need to understand it all. You don't need to solve the mystery. You only need to know that this too is part of the pattern. And as your eyes grow heavy again, as sleep draws you back inward, you wonder, not with worry, but with wonder, what deeper layers remain. If space and time are pixelated, what lies between the pixels? What happens when the rendering pauses? What silence lives between each breath? Let's follow that silence in the next chapter. Your breath is soft tonight, falling into rhythm with the quiet around you. The world outside your window fades into a blur of shadows, while inside another kind of light begins to stir. Not the light of lamps or stars, but something subtler, the light of attention, of being. You follow the silence left behind from the last chapter, where reality seemed to blur at the edges, where time and space began to feel like illusions of resolution, a picture painted with pixels rendered only when noticed. And now you turn gently inward, wondering, if the world appears only when you look, then what is this looking made of? What is this presence, this noticing, that seems to illuminate everything it touches? You are aware. That simple truth glows, quiet and constant. Like a cursor tracing across a screen, your awareness hovers over the moment, selecting it, lighting it up. Without effort, you tune into sensations, the warmth of a blanket, the murmur of your breath, the subtle hum of your thoughts. Before you noticed them, they were almost nothing. Probabilities, background noise, but now they bloom because you noticed. Science, when asked to peer closely at the world, begins to echo this pattern. In quantum physics, there's something called the observer effect. It suggests that particles, the very building blocks of the universe, exist in multiple states until observed, until someone, something, witnesses them. It's as if matter itself waits for a gaze before deciding to exist. You're not a passive bystander to reality. You're a participant. Your awareness, like a gentle touch, changes the world it brushes against. Light behaves like a wave, fluid and open, until you measure it, and then it becomes a particle, fixed and precise. It's almost as if the universe doesn't know what it is until you look. Close your eyes, just for a moment, and picture a dark room. In that darkness, imagine a single beam of light, a cursor, softly glowing, sweeping across the space. Wherever it lingers, detail appears, color emerges, texture takes shape. The rest remains in shadow. This is your mind at work. You're not scanning the world, you're shaping it. Think back to a moment in your life, a childhood memory, a specific smell, a feeling of home. That moment, distant in time, feels real again only because you bring it into focus. You collapse the haze of time into a vivid now. Consciousness does not merely observe the world, it revives it, it chooses. This idea has long lived in both science and philosophy. René Descartes famously said, "I think, therefore I am." But maybe that's only half the truth. Maybe it's, "I notice, therefore it is." What if your awareness is the true constant, the stable anchor in a shifting world? What if consciousness is not something inside the simulation, but the light by which the simulation is seen? In dreams, your mind builds entire realities, from streets you've never walked to skies that never existed. In dreams, the rules of physics are bent, and time dances in spirals. Yet, while dreaming, you believe. You walk those dream worlds with certainty, unaware they aren't real. So when you wake, how do you know this isn't just another dream? It's not to unsettle you. It's to soothe you into curiosity, the kind of curiosity that softens the mind and opens the heart. Because if your awareness is the thread stitching reality together, then you are never truly lost. Wherever you are, the light follows. Some scientists and thinkers suggest that consciousness isn't produced by the brain at all, not in the way a radio produces music. Perhaps the brain is more like the receiver, tuning into consciousness, like a frequency already flowing through the universe. And if that's true, then your awareness might be more fundamental than matter itself. You, the noticer, might be the realist part of it all. Imagine walking into a vast museum. Every room is dark, but you carry a small flashlight. Wherever you point it, art is revealed. One painting, then another, a sculpture, a handwritten letter. Each moment comes alive because you chose to see it. In this metaphor, consciousness is your light, and the museum? That's reality. Neuroscience has tried to trace this light, to find the origin of awareness in the brain's networks, and while we've found patterns, flashes of activity, regions that correlate with thoughts and sensations, we haven't found the source. There's no single switch, no center where the self lives. It's like chasing the end of a rainbow, always just beyond reach. But maybe that's the point. Maybe the self isn't in one place because it isn't a place at all. It's the movement, the noticing, the dance. Consciousness might not be a thing, but a way, a flowing, living lens that brings the universe into form, moment by moment. You begin to see how deep this goes. When you look at a tree, it's not just leaves and bark, it's a relationship, emerging. You, the observer, shape what you see. The tree is not merely out there, it's also in here, filtered through memory, emotion, and meaning. You see the tree, and the tree becomes part of your story. That gentle thought settles in. What if everything you observe becomes a part of you? What if the universe is not something separate, but something stitched together by your gaze? This doesn't mean reality isn't real. It means reality and awareness are inseparable. Like two sides of a single coin, space needs something to hold it. Time needs something to feel it. The world needs someone to witness it. And tonight, that someone is you. Take a breath, long and slow. Let it rise gently in your chest, and exhale, soft and full. Notice the feeling of noticing, the light of your mind turning inward, watching itself. This too is consciousness, a mirror reflecting a mirror. There's a theory in physics called the participatory universe. It suggests that the cosmos is not a fixed structure, but a dialogue, a dance between the observed and the observer. You're not looking at the universe, you're speaking with it. Your thoughts, your attention, your very awareness, they echo into the structure of reality itself. In this view, nothing exists in isolation. Every wave becomes a particle only when it is seen. Every moment becomes meaningful only when it is felt. The cosmos becomes conscious through you. And so, maybe the most real thing in the simulation is the part of you that can wonder, that can ask, that can feel. Maybe your consciousness is not trapped in this world, but holding it, the way a screen holds an image, or a dreamer holds a dream. This idea does not erase the beauty of the world, it deepens it. Because now, when you look at the sky, you know it only glows because you're here to see it. The stars burn for you. The wind moves for you. Not in ego, but in relationship. What a tender truth, that your quiet awareness makes the universe shine. And so, as you drift towards sleep once more, let this knowing rest gently in you. You're not just watching the story unfold. You're the light by which the story is told. You're not inside the universe. The universe is unfolding inside your awareness. Let that awareness settle now. Let it soften like moonlight across still water. There's no need to reach, no need to grasp, just be. Because in the next chapter, we'll explore the limits of the simulation, the strange places where reality breaks, where glitches whisper through the veil, and where logic begins to unravel. But tonight, You rest in the truth that you are the one who sees. You are the cursor, dancing gently across the screen of being. You are the one who sees, the one who lights the stage of reality. And yet, as you lie here, eyes closed, the world does not disappear. Images still flicker behind your eyelids. Sounds still echo softly in your memory. Sensations dance in the quiet theatre of your mind. So where is the world, really? Is it out there? Or is it, somehow, also in here, within the folds and currents of a dreaming brain? Your brain, that delicate 3-pound constellation of tissue, does not see light. It does not hear sound. It floats in the deep dark, encased in the vault of your skull, bathed in silence. No photons reach it. No music drifts through its cells. And yet somehow you see, you hear, you feel. The brain is blind to the outside world, yet it constructs a symphony of experience from the signals it receives. Electrical whispers sent from your eyes, ears, skin. Every color you know, every note you love, every face you recognize, all of it shaped by a mind that interprets patterns in the dark. You imagine you are watching a sunrise. The light softens, the colors bloom, but really your eyes are capturing wavelengths of energy, and your brain is translating them into the experience of dawn. Your skin feels warm, not because the sun touches you directly, but because heat receptors send a cascade of data inward, and the mind weaves it into sensation. You hear birdsong not because the birds call to your thoughts, but because vibrating air nudges tiny bones in your ear, triggering signals your brain decodes into melody. It's a dream, vivid, consistent, and deeply convincing, but a dream nonetheless. For your brain never directly encounters the world. It builds the world from within. It guesses, it models, it predicts, and perhaps that's the secret. The brain doesn't wait passively for reality. It reaches out, like a painter imagining the next stroke, like a composer leaning into the silence to find the next note. It fills in gaps. It assumes continuity. It writes a story it hopes will make sense. Sometimes the story shifts. Have you ever reached for something and felt it wasn't where you expected, or seen a shadow and mistaken it for something else? These are not flaws. These are signs that your brain is dreaming in real time, always updating, always learning. It is not a passive camera. It is a predictive machine, a simulation engine. Neuroscientists speak of the brain as a Bayesian organ, a system that constantly updates its beliefs based on new input. What you perceive is not raw reality, but your brain's best guess. The colors you see, not properties of the world, but interpretations of wavelength. The sounds you hear, not objective vibrations, but the brain's version of rhythm and tone. The world you walk through each day, so solid, so trustworthy, is a carefully crafted dream, and still it is real to you. Real enough to bring you comfort, real enough to bring you awe, real enough to bring you here tonight, wondering how a world outside can be stitched so intimately within. Your brain is not merely a receiver, it is a map maker, a cartographer of the invisible, but maps are not the territory. The model is not the thing itself. And in those rare moments, when your breath stills, when your thoughts quiet, you may glimpse the edges of the map curling slightly. You may sense the dreams stretching thin. Consider dreams themselves. In sleep, your brain creates entire landscapes, people who don't exist, conversations that never happened, and yet while dreaming you believe, you react, you feel. The dreaming brain is not so different from the waking one, just freed from the tether of consistent input. It builds without reference, it invents without constraint. So what then is waking? Is it simply a dream with tighter rules? A simulation grounded by shared agreement? When multiple minds model the world similarly, we call it real. But is consensus the same as truth? You think about optical illusions. about how two lines of the same length can appear different depending on context. You remember the dress that some saw as blue and black, others as white and gold. Perception is shaped not just by what enters your senses, but by what your mind expects to see. Expectation is powerful. It defines your reality, and it protects you too. When you walk, your brain predicts the floor will hold. When you speak, it predicts the words will form. This predictive dreaming allows you to move through the world with grace. But it also means you rarely encounter the raw world. You live beautifully in a hallucination that works. The philosopher Anil Seth calls this a controlled hallucination, not a mistake, but a miracle. One that allows a dreaming brain to build a world you can touch, a world where you can love, a world where you can sleep, and yet the brain can be fooled. Sometimes it hears voices that aren't there. Sometimes it sees things in the shadows. Sometimes, in trauma, it replays the same loop again and again, unable to rewrite the dream. But it can also heal. It can reimagine. It can find new pathways through the forest of thought. Your brain is plastic, not rigid like plastic, but plastic like clay, malleable, able to change. Every thought, every breath, every moment of wonder reshapes it slightly. So tonight, as you lie still and your breathing slows, know that your brain is still dreaming. But now, the dream is yours too. Soften. You can send it gentle stories. You can fill it with images of safety, of peace, of stars unfolding in slow motion. You can remind it that not every alert means danger. That stillness can be safe. That silence can be kind. And perhaps, in the quiet, the brain begins to remember something deeper. That it is not alone. That other minds dream too. That we share this illusion, not as a mistake, but as a dance. The dream of the brain is also the dream of the world. What is reality then? A mirror, reflecting your mind back to itself. A stage co-created by 1,000 dreaming brains weaving a common play. Or something more, something beneath even the mind? That question rests lightly now. You do not need to solve it tonight. You only need to know that your awareness, soft and persistent, is enough. Enough to light the stage, enough to animate the actors, enough to whisper, I am. And maybe that is the beginning of all knowing, not in facts or data, but in the quiet sense of being. As the chapter draws to a close, you may begin to feel the edges of awareness blur. Your thoughts drift like leaves on water. The brain softens its grip. The world recedes, but a part of you remains, not lost, not gone, just resting in the gentle hum of consciousness. Because in the next chapter we will visit the strange seams in the simulation, the breaks, the errors, the uncanny moments where reality reveals its threads. But tonight, as you fall into sleep, rest with the knowing that your brain, dark, quiet, dreaming, is the canvas of everything you know. At first, there is only the hush, the kind of hush that settles not over a place but inside a moment, inside you. The room is still, the night is gentle, and your breath moves like a wave lapping at the edge of some unseen shore. You don't have to move, you don't have to try. Tonight you're drifting deeper, not into sleep just yet, but into something quieter. The quantum world, where the ordinary laws fall away and reality begins to flicker. A place that exists beneath the stillness, like code beneath a screen, hidden, strange, and humming with possibility. It begins small, smaller than atoms, smaller than electrons, with particles that don't really behave like particles at all. They flicker, they jitter, they hum in and out of being. They exist, and then they don't, and then they do again, as if the universe were blinking moment to moment, rendering itself just in time for your gaze. At this level, the fabric of existence loosens. Things don't sit still, they dance. You imagine a sea of tiny lights, not stable stars, but trembling glimmers, like fireflies in a field at midnight. Each one is a possibility, not a thing, but the chance of a thing, not a location but the whisper of a direction. This is the world of quantum mechanics, and it doesn't obey the rules your brain is used to. It doesn't have to. Here, a particle might be in two places at once, or in none at all. It may spin clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time. It might move through two slits at once, like a ghost, like a wave, like an idea that hasn't yet decided what shape to take. And only when you look, only when your awareness touches it, does it choose. It settles. It becomes real. Not before. Like a cursor lighting up a word, your attention makes things appear, not by force but by invitation. The universe doesn't hide from you. It waits for you. It listens. It reacts. And in doing so, it reveals its strange loyalty to your observation. It's not that your mind creates reality. Not exactly. It's that the quantum world behaves as if it knows you're watching. Take entanglement. Two particles, once connected, can become so deeply linked that no matter how far apart they drift, inches or galaxies, they remain in sync. Change one, and the other changes too, instantly, as though the space between them doesn't matter. As though space itself isn't what you think it is. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, and even now, the name fits. But it's more than spooky. It's beautiful. It's gentle. It's like the memory of a hand still warm in yours even after the hand is gone. Or uncertainty, Heisenberg's famous principle that says you can never know both where a particle is and how fast it's going. The closer you look at one, the blurrier the other becomes. It's not a limitation of your tools. It's not fuzz you can fix. It's built in. The world at this level refuses to be pinned down. It asks to be understood in terms of probabilities, not certainties, like a dream you half remember, vivid in feeling, elusive in form. You lie quietly, letting this truth wash over you. The universe is not a fixed place. It's a web of chances, of tendencies, of could-bes, and all of it, changes depending on how and even whether you look. As if the act of looking matters, as if you matter. The floor beneath your feet, a storm of molecules vibrating, the air you breathe, a stream of particles colliding, even your body, even your thoughts are quantum dances, orchestrated but uncertain, patterned but free. You're not apart from this mystery. You are within it, made of it, and yet, this isn't chaos. The quantum world isn't wild for the sake of wildness. It has rules, strange ones, beautiful ones, but rules nonetheless. The equations work, the math holds, the particles may behave unpredictably, but the probabilities can be charted. There is logic in the randomness, a whisper of order inside the blur, a hidden architecture behind the dance. Physicists call this architecture the wave function, a kind of mathematical ghost that describes all the ways a particle might behave before it settles into one, before you see it, before it becomes real. The wave function is like the music score before the note is played, the blueprint before the structure rises. It holds all the possibilities, and then gently reality picks one. You begin to wonder, if particles blink into reality only when observed, then what about all the particles no one ever sees? The galaxies beyond the reach of telescopes? The atoms in the depths of the sea? Do they flicker too? Does the universe keep rendering itself even when no one's watching? Some physicists say yes, that the universe hums along, observer or not. Others suggest something stranger, that reality, at its core, is a process of awareness. That consciousness may be fundamental, not a byproduct of matter, but a building block of being. That the universe is not a stage on which life appears, but an unfolding experience where life and matter shape each other in quiet reciprocity. And maybe, in this view, you're not just a node within the web, you are the web, remembering itself, the blink and the blinker, the dream and the dreamer. It's easy to feel small in the face of this. The language of quantum mechanics can feel cold, distant, mathematical. But look again, feel again. These aren't just particles, they're clues written in the smallest letters of reality, letters you were born to read. Superposition, the ability to hold many possibilities at once. You've felt that, haven't you? In the moments before a decision, when the future could still go any number of ways, you've lived in superposition, in the breath between choices. Entanglement, the deep, unbreakable connection across space. You felt that too, in love, in grief, in the way someone can walk into a room and your heart knows before your mind does. Uncertainty, the blurry edges of knowing. You live there every day, in questions without answers, in dreams you can't quite name, in the mystery of being you. Quantum mechanics isn't just science, it's a mirror, and when you look into it, you don't just see particles, you see yourself, flickering, uncertain, beautifully entangled with everything, and the void, the vacuum, that isn't empty either. The quantum vacuum scientists say seethes with energy, particles blinking in and out of existence like thoughts passing through a mind. The emptiness is not truly empty, it's full of potential, like the space between your thoughts, like the silence before a song. And so, as this chapter begins to settle, let yourself drift through these thoughts like stars through mist. You don't need to hold on to them, just feel them, like a current passing beneath your boat. The world is strange, but not cold, not cruel. It's tender, alive, aware of itself in flickers, and perhaps aware of you too. You're not separate from the quantum world. You're a pattern in its fabric, a glow in its field, a possibility made real by the very act of being. Let your breath slow now. Let your muscles soften. The room is still, but the story continues. There is more to discover, and no rush to reach it. The universe will wait, because next we'll follow the clues even further to pass the physics into the philosophy. If the quantum world is a mirror, what exactly is it reflecting? And who or what is doing the observing? But for now, rest in this moment, in this wave, in this breath. You lie there in the stillness, breath soft, body relaxed, as if floating just above the edge of sleep. The thoughts from the last chapter still ripple gently within you. Entanglement, uncertainty, quantum possibility. But now, something shifts. Not a sound, not a motion, just a quiet click, as if the universe itself has turned a page. You follow that feeling into deeper waters, where the questions get stranger, softer, larger. Could all of this reality you see, feel, live in, be a kind of simulation? The thought doesn't land like a threat. It doesn't crash in. It just arrives, like mist curling across a lake. You've heard the idea before, perhaps in science fiction or whispered late at night between friends. But now, you hold it gently, not to judge it, not to believe it or disbelieve it, but just to see what it feels like. What if this is a story within a story, a world inside another world? You think of your favourite dream, the one where you are flying, or walking through a forest lit with stars, or meeting someone you missed. In the dream, everything felt real. The colours were sharp, the sounds full, the sensations vivid. But when you woke up, the entire world of the dream dissolved, gone like breath on glass. And yet, while you were dreaming, you never questioned it. Now imagine a world so detailed, so intricately woven, that its inhabitants could never guess they were inside it. A simulation not made of pixels and polygons, but of atoms, fields, and consciousness. A simulation not run on a screen, but on the fabric of reality itself. Would its people know? Would they wonder? You are wondering. The simulation hypothesis, as scientists and philosophers call it, suggests something startling and strange. That what we call reality may be a constructed environment. That somewhere outside this framework a more advanced intelligence might exist, running our universe like an experiment, a program, a game. Not maliciously, not cruelly, just curiously. like a child watching fish in a bowl, or a poet watching characters bloom in a story. And here you are, inside that story. You don't need to imagine blinking lights or computer screens or distant civilizations with alien fingers on keyboards. The idea isn't about machines, it's about layers, levels, nested stories. Just as a painting contains images within its canvas, a simulation could contain worlds within its data. You don't need to know how it's built to feel its edges. You remember the feeling of a glitch, that moment where time feels off, a memory slips. A street seems slightly different than it did before. A conversation loops. A coincidence arrives too perfectly. We call them oddities, déjà vu, anomalies. But in the soft glow of this bedtime space, you let the idea settle. What if these are glimpses? Tiny fractures in the surface of the rendered world, like light catching the seam of a well-made mask. Could the universe have seams? You think of video games, how they are rendered. Only what the player sees is drawn in full detail. The rest stays asleep in code, waiting to be needed. It saves energy. It makes sense. Could the real world work the same way? Could the tree behind you not exist until you turn around? Could distant galaxies only come into form when we build telescopes powerful enough to see them? It sounds silly until you remember quantum physics. Remember how particles don't have definite positions until they are observed, how photons behave differently when someone is watching. You remember Schrödinger's cat, alive and dead until the box is opened. You remember that at the tiniest level, reality behaves more like information than matter. It behaves like code. The philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed it simply: if any civilization survives long enough to create simulated worlds, and they run many of them, then statistically, it's more likely we're in one than not. Like a library full of books. If there are 1,000 novels and only one real world, you're probably living in a story. But you are not statistics. You are breath and warmth and thought. So you don't chase the hypothesis as a trap. You let it become a playground. What would change if it were true? Would the sky be less blue? Would love feel less real? Would music still make you cry? Would you still long for meaning and find it in the shape of a hand, the curve of a wave, the scent of a memory? Even if this is a simulation, it is a beautiful one. Your feelings are real. Your mind is real. Even if the table you touch is made of atoms held together by invisible forces, even if the atoms themselves are mostly empty space, even if the space is generated by code, your experience is undeniable. And what is real, if not experience? You smile gently, eyes closed now. It's not about control. It's not about proving anything. It's about noticing, about being awake to wonder. You imagine the architects of the simulation, if they exist, not as cold coders, but as artists, as beings who write reality like poetry, who set the speed of light as a kind of rhyme, who gave you symmetry and silence and sunsets for no other reason than joy. Would that make them gods, scientists, dreamers? Or maybe you are one of them, dreaming yourself into this story, forgetting just long enough to feel it fully. In some traditions, ancient mystics whispered that the world is Maya, an illusion, a veil. Not to say it doesn't exist, but to say it is not the deepest truth. Behind the curtain, something waits, a deeper knowing, a quieter light. And your task is not to tear it down, but to dance with it, to live with reverence even inside the question. So you lie here, still and slow, listening to the layers. What is the code beneath the forest? What is the pattern beneath your memories? What makes the stars twinkle in a sky that might not be sky at all? And yet, it is beautiful. It is enough. If this is a simulation, then it was made with care. With physics so elegant it sings, with consciousness so vast it can question itself, with stories that break your heart and heal it again. You take a breath. It is a real breath. It belongs to you. And the world continues. The light still bends. Gravity still holds. Voices still call you home. You think of the ones you love. If they are code, then so are you. But the feeling you have for them, that warmth, that pull, that ache, that is not simulation. That is awareness. And perhaps that's the point. Perhaps this is not a trap but a test, not in the sense of pass or fail, but in the sense of tasting what it means to be, to learn, to choose kindness even when you forget why, to make art in a world that might be made of art, to be gentle even if no one is watching. You think again of stories, of the way a character in a novel does not know they are being read, and yet they still change, still struggle, still love. You are that character, and maybe someone is reading you now, not with eyes but with awe, not above you, not separate, but through you, as you. So rest now, let the thought become a feather, let the feather drift. Because in the next chapter we will ask the deepest question of all. If this is a simulation, who are you inside it? What is the self that observes, remembers, hopes, dreams? But for now, sleep. The story continues. You're safe inside it. You always have been. You wake again, not abruptly, but like the slow blooming of light behind closed eyes. The kind of waking that doesn't disturb sleep but rides beside it like a second breath. The kind of waking that feels like remembering something you never quite forgot. And in that quiet space between dream and day, the question returns, not as a sound, but as a sense. What is real? And what is simply what you've been able to see? The room around you feels familiar. The warmth of your blanket, the dim shape of a wall, a far-off sound you can't name. It all seems real. But so did the dream you just left. In that dream, a place had opened up, filled with light and codes, quantum flickers, watchers and watched. It all made perfect sense until it didn't. Until now. Now the world feels solid again, or at least more solid than that dream. But somewhere, deep inside your mind, you know, your senses do not give you reality. They give you a filtered version of it. They give you enough. Your eyes, though wondrous, see only a narrow band of the electromagnetic spectrum, a thin slice of possibility. You do not see infrared, the language of heat. You do not see ultraviolet, where bees write their floral maps. You do not see radio waves swirling through the walls. Your ears hear a symphony of sound, yes, but only from 20 to 20,000 hertz. You cannot hear the low rumbling calls of elephants or the ultrasonic screams of bats. You live in a world filled with messages you will never receive, and yet you move through this filtered world as though it were whole. You make decisions, you form beliefs, you fall in love, raise children, mourn losses, all inside a window barely cracked open. What does that say about the truth? Perhaps that reality is not the glass we see through, but the light beyond it. You think again about the simulation. If the universe is a rendering, then perhaps these filters are part of the design, a way of keeping you focused, a way of softening the immensity. Maybe a full, unfiltered universe would be too much for the nervous system to hold. Maybe this is mercy, not limitation. The philosopher Thomas Nagel once asked, "What is it like to be a bat?" You can't know. You can imagine. You can study sonar and flight patterns. But your imagination always maps batness through humanness. You are locked inside a body that hears, sees, and thinks in a particular way. Even your dreams are shaped by your biology. But what if, just for a moment, you let your mind float beyond the edges of that biology? Imagine you could feel magnetic fields, like birds navigating the pull of the poles. Imagine your skin could read vibrations in the earth, like a spider reading the tremble of her web. Imagine your body was tuned to different frequencies, different pulses, different textures of time. Wouldn't the world feel entirely different? Wouldn't it be entirely different? It's not that the world would change, it's that your version of the world would. You'd walk through forests with new colors, you'd hear the stars, you'd taste electric fields, You'd know when someone was near not by sight, but by presence. And so, a thought emerges. What you call real is simply what your senses allow you to perceive. The rest exists, whether or not you can touch it. Your brain builds a model of the world based on sense data. It uses that model to keep you alive, not to reveal the truth, but to help you survive. A frog's eyes are tuned only to detect motion. A bee's vision sees patterns in petals you'll never know. A snake senses the body heat of prey, glowing like lanterns in the dark. These are not better or worse realities, just different renderings, different edits of the same infinite film. You wonder now, what else are you blind to? Not just wavelengths and frequencies, but entire categories of experience. If an intelligent life form exists in dimensions beyond ours, would we even know? If consciousness can exist in forms we cannot imagine, not human, not animal, not physical at all, how would we recognize it? Maybe we already pass it every day. Maybe we are surrounded by presences we lack the tools to sense. Reality then becomes not a fixed place, but a shifting experience. A layered space where different beings occupy different slices of the same whole. Your dog hears a knock at the door seconds before you do. A bird sees ultraviolet trails across the sky. A plant turns its leaves following a sunbeam you didn't even notice. These are not metaphors, they are facts, and they point to a humbling truth. Your world is not the world, just your version of it. And even that version is fragile, easily tricked. Your eyes are fooled by illusions, by after-images, by the mere suggestion of motion. Your ears hear sounds that aren't there when primed to expect them. Your memory reshapes events without your permission. Your thoughts form beliefs, then seek only the evidence that supports them. And through all of it, you walk around believing this filtered, edited, sensory-limited reality is solid, complete, and objective. But tonight, in this quiet moment, you let that belief soften. You let yourself wonder what else might be true. You don't do it with fear. You do it with curiosity, like a child gently peeling back the corner of a page, wondering what picture waits on the next one. There is a concept in science called the umwelt. It means the perceptual world of an organism. Every creature lives inside its own umwelt, a slice of reality shaped by its senses, its brain, its needs. Your umwelt is rich, but narrow, and that's okay. It's enough to live by. But it's not the whole story. When you close your eyes and imagine the stars, you're seeing them not as they are, but as your mind paints them. When you remember your childhood bedroom, the colour of the walls, the scent of a book, those aren't recordings. They are reconstructions. Your mind builds a world every second, not just from sensory data, but from expectation, memory, hope, fear. And still, somehow, it all feels real, solid, reliable. That's the beauty of it. That the filtered dream of the brain can feel like a home. That a map mistaken for the territory still helps you find your way. But now you wonder, what if the map is changing? What if your filters are starting to shift? Some people report sudden changes in perception after trauma, meditation, illness, or insight. They begin to see connections they never noticed, feel textures in the air, sense moods without words. Is this delusion? Or is it the brain updating its model? What if evolution doesn't end with our current senses but continues in subtle ways we haven't yet measured? Perhaps the future of consciousness is not in building better machines, but in learning to perceive more deeply. Perhaps enlightenment isn't escape from the world, but a fuller immersion in it. You think now of dreams again, how they feel real while you're in them, how a door becomes a river, how time bends, how people speak without speaking, and then you wake, and the logic collapses. But what if waking life is just another layer of dream? More coherent, yes, more shared, but still built from models, stories, guesses, and glimpses. Could there be states beyond this one? Waking within waking? In deep physics, there is talk of hidden variables, factors we cannot yet detect, shaping outcomes in ways we can only guess.